Chapter 8, we get to talk about some solids. We've already reviewed, we went over the solids that you discussed last year, the prisms. And right here, we're introducing a solid that I'm sure that you're familiar with. It is a cylinder. A cylinder is kind of in relation to a prism the same, because to find the volume of a prism, you take the area of one of the bases and multiply it by the height. It's almost exactly the same for this. You take the area of the base times, which would be a capital B, times the height. That's what you would do. The thing is, if it's a cylinder, every cylinder has the same shape base. That shape is a circle. So it's pi r squared. So pi r squared times h. That is your formula. All right. So if we look at this real world link, I don't know, I love this. I'm going to give you a cheat. If you ever get to participate in something like this, you know, where this one says it's got jelly beans in there. And honestly, this is what I do. When I am in one of these contests, I flip that bottle over and I count how many are on the bottom. And then I count about how many beans go up and I multiply. So basically what I'm doing is I'm finding the area of the base and I'm multiplying it by the height. So, you know, if you get to do another one like that, maybe you might have a better chance of winning. Okay, so, you know, get after it. Win some jelly beans or whatever it might be. Okay? So moving on, let's talk about how we are going to use this formula and calculate these. All right, so first, volume. This is some definitions for your vocab sheet. Volume is the measure of a space. It's the measure of space. It's three-dimensional. Up, down, left, right, back, and forth. Okay, it's 3 dimensions, not just plane figures that are flat. That's why it's hard to draw volume stuff, because drawing on a plane, you're trying to make it look like it's three-dimensional. Okay, so a cylinder specifically is a three-dimensional figure with 2 parallel congruent circular bases connected by a curved surface. Parallel congruent circles. They have 2 circles. They are parallel. They are congruent. All right, and so the height tells me how many layers there are, so you find the area of the circle and then multiply it by the height. All right, I expect to see your work, so let's see. I'm going to model what I want from you. Okay, so remember, area is the area of a circle multiplied by its height. So show your work, write down what you punch into your calculator. If you want to start by writing volume equals pi times your radius squared times height, that is fantastic. I am not going to require that step. The step I require is this one right here. All right, I want to see this step, the substitution step, where you're taking the values and you're substituting it in. And then once you do that, I'm going to talk about giving an exact answer first. And I know this seems funny, but an exact answer is what you have before you multiply by pi. So when you take that 5 squared, which is 25, and then you multiply it by 8.3, you get 207.5. I didn't multiply by 5. So believe it or not, 207.5 pi is an exact answer. It's exact because you know we're multiplying by pi, but I gave you all of that instead of multiplying by pi and simply rounding your answer. So when they, in your work or specifically on Alex, it's exact answer, they ask for exact answer. They are asking you not to multiply by pi, but to simply just place it alongside so that we know that we have to do that. Okay? But then I'm also going to ask you to do that. So when we multiply by pi, you may use your pi button. On this calculator, it happens to be right here. So all I'm going to do is 207.5, leave it in there, times pi, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth. That's 1 decimal place. So we got 651 point. This is an 8, but the next one is bigger than a 5. It's 5 or bigger, so we round it up to 9, and make sure you label correctly. Volume is 3-dimensional, so it's going to be centimeters cubed, a cubic centimeter. All right, flip your paper over when you're ready. You can pause me if you have to. Okay, so take a look at this one. We got a short little fat one here. So again, volume equals pi times radius squared times h. Pi times radius squared times h. I'm going to put the radius of 3 in there. I'm going to put the 1.8 in there. I am then going to multiply 3 squared, that's 9, times 1.8. I'm going to get 16.2 pi. That's my exact answer, and then I'm going to multiply it out. Times pi, and rounding to the nearest tenth, as it says, we should get 50.9 inches cubed. Circle that answer. Now, I do expect to see all 3 of these steps. This one is optional. You can do it if you want, but you don't have to. Now, check out this one. Not only did they not give us a picture, the tricky part is they gave us the diameter. Do we use the diameter on our formula? Pi r squared h. No, we need the radius. We need to know as 8th graders that a radius is going to be automatically half the diameter. So the radius is 6. All right, so we have pi times 6 squared times the height of 5. So I get an exact answer. So 6 squared times 5 going to be 180 pi. And my final answer then is 565.5, because it was 48 millimeters cubed. There you have it. So how do they make these harder in the word problems? Well, take a look. So in this word problem, it says a metal paperweight is in the shape of a cylinder. It has a height. It gives you the height. It gives you the diameter. So once again, radius is 1, right? How much does the paperweight weigh if 1 square inch weighs 1.8 ounces? So it's like a 2-step problem. Not only are you going to have to find the volume, but once you find the volume, you're going to have to multiply it by 1.8, because 1.8 is how much each cubic inch weighs. And if you'll see, they did not say that. This should say if 1 cubic inch weighs 1.8 ounces. All right, so then you get 8.5 at the end because you have to multiply by that. All right, so let's try one. And again, look at this, another typo. It should be cubic feet. All right, the Roberts family uses a container shaped like a cylinder to recycle aluminum cans. It has a height of 4 feet and a diameter of 1.5 feet. That's the diameter. What's the radius? 1.5 divided by 2, so 0.75. That should make it interesting. All right, so volume equals pi times radius squared times height. So we've got volume equals pi times 7.75 squared times 4. All right, so our volume, so 0.75 squared times 4 gives me 2.25 pi, and then when I multiply that by pi, notice that's always my last step. I get 7.1 cubic feet, and that's me rounding it. So I'm going to leave this right here in my calculator. I'm going to write that rounded answer, but in my final answer, I'm not going to round it. I'm going to leave it right here and say, okay, well, if that's how many cubic feet it is, and every cubic foot is 37 ounces, I'm going to take what I have in my calculator and multiply by 37. That way I have a closer answer. So it's going to be 261.5 ounces. There you go. Try another one down here. Objects made up of, here's another vocab. Objects made up of more than one type of solid are called composite solids. So more than one. In this particular composite solid, we have a cube, but then they hollow out one tiny little cylinder through the middle of it. It's a bead to make a necklace. So that tiny little hole takes away from the volume. Not a lot, but it's not a very big it's not a very big cube anyways. So find the volume of each solid, then subtract the volume of the bead from the the bead is made of a rectangular prism, one cylinder. So we're going to find the prism, the rectangular prism. It's actually a cube. Volume of the cube is going to be the area of the base, so 12 times 12, times the height, which is incidentally also 12. So that is going to give me 1,728 cubic millimeters. But then we have to subtract that cylinder. Now the cylinder, the diameter is 2 millimeters. So our radius is actually 1. Our height, still 12. So the volume of the cylinder is going to be pi r squared times h. So 1 and 12. Oh, that's pretty simple because 1 squared is still 1. 1 times 12 is 12. So our volume of the cylinder is 12 pi, which is going to be 37.7. And then we're going to subtract that. So take that 17, this 1,728, minus 37.7, because the area or the volume of the cube minus the volume of that hollowed out little cylinder. 1728 minus 37.7, we get 1,690.3 millimeters cubed. Okay, take a look at the next sheet. Oh boy, I'm going longer than I wanted to. Look at that one. That kind of looks like a what is it? Chest, treasure chest. There we go. Whew. But realistically, what you should see there is a rectangular prism on the bottom with half of a cylinder on top. Now, in that cylinder, we're going to need the radius, which is going to be half of that, so 12.5. We are also going to need the height, which is 50. We're going to find the volume of the rectangular prism, the volume of the half of the cylinder, and then we're going to add them together. Okay, so the rectangular prism, the area of the base, so 25 times 50. And then we take that times the height, so times 30. So the volume of the base, or the volume of the box on the bottom is 25 times 50 times 30. Going to be a big number, 37,500. To that, we have to add half of a cylinder. So 1/2 pi r squared h. Now r is 12.5 and h is 50. So 12.5 squared, 0.5 squared times 50. I'm going to go ahead and take half of that. So I'm going to get 3906.25 pi. So then I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take that times pi, which is going to be 12,271.8, and I'm going to add the 37,500. So I get 49,771.8 centimeters cubed. Take a look at this last one, getting through this. We have two rectangular prisms, two boxes, and a little cylinder in the middle. And notice it gives us the radius, or excuse me, the diameter. So our radius is going to be 4. Our height is 15. Okay, now check this out. I'm going to take 20 times 8, because that's the area of the base, times the height, which is 5. Now that's one box, but they're both the exact same size. I'm going to take that times 2. So 20 times 8 times 5 times 2. So 1,600 is the volume of my two rectangular prisms, plus my cylinder, pi radius squared times the height. The radius is 4, the height is 15. So I'm going to take 4 squared times 15. It's going to be 240 pi, which gives me 754.0. Add them together. $2,354.0. Do you need the 0.0? Yes, you do. All right, when it says round to the nearest tenth, it means round to the nearest tenth. Now, it actually doesn't say it, but I'm going to tell you that. All right, so you have a pink worksheet to work on. Make sure you're showing me all your steps. Show me that substitution step where you are substituting in your values. Make sure you show me an exact answer before you multiply by pi, and then multiply by pi and get your final answer rounded to whatever the worksheet says to round to. If you have any questions, come and see me, but I'm hoping we blaze right through this. Good luck.